Hi everyone. In this lesson, we will be looking at applications of percentage in practical situations. In this video, we will specifically be looking at problems involving profit, loss, and discount. So some terms for us to clarify before we can do the questions. So of course, we would know what is profit, loss, and discount, what these terms mean, as well as what selling price, cost price, and marked price refer to. I'll be using an example to demonstrate to you what these terms mean. So I've given you a context here. So a shopkeeper buys a bag for $80. He intends to sell it at a price of $120. So let's look at this situation. $80 is the price that the shopkeeper paid for the bag. And he is going to sell it at a higher price of $120. So the bag cost the shopkeeper $80. So this is the cost price. He is going to sell it at a price of $120. So this is the selling price. Now you can see that by selling this bag at $120, he is going to gain $40. So that is his profit. So in this context, he will get a profit of $40. Now let's look at a different context. Let's say he still bought the bag at $80. Instead of selling it at $120, even though he initially plans to sell it at $120, he decides to give it at a discounted price of $110. Now this means he will still be getting a profit, but his profit will now just be $30. Now then, how do we identify what is the selling price? Now, because the original price that he intended to sell was $120, we call this the marked price. Okay, so marked price is the price before a discount. Then this $110 is the price that he finally sold it for. So this would now be the selling price. So selling price is always the amount that the item was finally sold for. Okay. Now, let us look at a slightly different context. So let's say nobody decided to buy the bag at $120. He tried selling it at $110. Still nobody has decided to buy it. So in order not to lose more money, he decides to let it go at a price of just $60. Can you see that compared to his original cost price, he is now selling it at a lower price. So this means he is going to make a loss of $20. Okay, so in this context, of course, this is the selling price, and because the cost price was originally $80, he is going to make a loss of $20. So this is what selling price, cost price, and marked price means. Selling price and marked price may refer to the same thing, especially if there's no discount. Okay, the reason why we use the word marked price, when you go to a shop, sometimes they will have like a price tag which says maybe $100, and then they will slash it and say now it's only $80. So this $100 will be considered the marked price. So now the $80 would be the new selling price. Okay, so if there's no discount, then selling price and marked price are essentially the same thing. Okay, so for key concepts, you must know what are profit, loss, and discount. Okay, so I've given it in words so that it's easier to understand what it is. So profit is basically how much more the shopkeeper is getting based on his cost price. So it's from the perspective of the shopkeeper. Loss is how much less he is getting from the cost price. Again, from his perspective, how much money is he losing? Now, discount is marked price minus the selling price. So this is from the perspective of the customer. How much money does the customer now pay less? So marked price minus the selling price. The customer actually wouldn't need to worry about what was the original cost price. Now, the formula to calculate the percentage profit, loss, or discount, instead of looking at it as three different formula, we can generalize it as just difference over the original times 100%. Okay, so for example, in our context, right, in this context of the shopkeeper buying a bag for $80, if I wanted to calculate the percentage profit for part A, where the shopkeeper sold it at $120, then this is how I will do it. The difference in the amount is $40, 120 minus 80. The original price of the bag from the perspective of the shopkeeper was $80. So he's actually going to get a 50% profit. So he's going to earn 50% of the cost price by selling the bag at $120. Similarly, for profit percentage loss, we would do the same thing. So it will be the difference over the original times 100%. Now, if let's say we wanted to calculate percentage discount, so let's say for scenario B, he decided to give the bag at a discounted price of $110. So compared to the original selling price of $120, he's now going to give it at a price of $110. So he's going to discount of $10. So you notice the discount has nothing to do with the cost price. Discount is from the perspective of the customer. How much less are they paying now compared to the original selling price? Then divided by the original selling price. Again here, the customer need not know what is the cost price. So this is how we will calculate percentage discount. Now let us apply this in the examples. So let us look at example 1. You can pause the video here to try the question first and then continue the video to look at the solution. This question says the shopkeeper gains 35% on the cost price when he sells the smartphone for $1,282.50. So that means this is his final selling price. So we're supposed to figure out what's the cost price. Now, when we are calculating percentage profit, the base is always the cost price. So cost price is 100%. If he gains 35%, that means he eventually sold it for 135%. So always figure out what the amount refers to. How many percent does the amount given refer to? So if I now want to find the cost price, I know 135% is this amount. So first I will find 1%. So I will take 1282.50 divided by 135. This was to find 1%. Then if I want to find 100%, I multiply this by 100. So this is the cost price. Okay, you can do a quick check if you want of your answer. You need to figure out what is 35% of 950. That means this is the amount that he gained by selling the smartphone for 1,282.50. So if you take 950 plus this amount, it should give you 1,282.50. So this is how you can check whether your answer is correct. Next, I'll be going through example 3. So for this question, a scarf was priced at $100, but it was eventually sold at $88. Can you see that this is actually the marked price? It was originally intended to be sold at $100, but eventually sold at $88. So this is the selling price. So if I want to calculate percentage discount, my general formula is I find the difference between these two prices. So 100 minus 88 divided by the original intended selling price, which is 100. Then I multiply by 100 to convert it to a percentage. So this is 12%. Next, we will be doing example 4. For example 4, the marked price of a washing machine is $600. A 6% discount is given during a sale. We are supposed to calculate the sale price. So if the marked price is given, that means this must be the 100%. A 6% discount is given, that means the sale price was eventually only 94% of the original price. So in order to find the sale price, again, we can use the same approach. I find 1% first. So I take 600 divided by 100. Then I multiply by 94 to find 94%. Okay, I will also show you an alternate method which is similar, but some of you may have done it using this way. So basically, to find the sale price, you need to find 94% of 600. Percentage means 94 out of 100. So you can take 94 over 100 times 600 as well. So this will also give you 564. Again, you can always check your answers. Check whether 6% of 600 is the discounted amount. You take 600 minus that amount. It should give you 564. Next, let us look at example 5. Now, a laptop is sold for this price after a discount of 9%. That means this was the final selling price. But the discount is calculated always based on the original cost price. Original marked price, whatever it was originally intended to be sold. So the original marked price would be 100%, which means this 1274 must be the discounted amount of 91%. Okay, because there's a discount of 9%, the 1274 must be 91%. So for part 1, because they want us to find the marked price, again, I will find 1% by taking 1274 divided by 91. And then to find 100%, I multiply by 100. So the original marked price of the laptop was 1,400. So for part 2, if a 5% of discount is given on the marked price of the laptop before it is sold at a further discount of 4%. So instead of saying there's a 9% discount, if let's say the shop decided to say, I'm going to first give you a 5% discount and then I'm going to give you a further discount of 4%, would the sale price still be 1274? So let us take a look at the calculations first. Okay, for now, you may already want to have a hypothesis on whether you think it would be the same. So, we are going to calculate the price after the 5% discount. Okay, after the 5% discount means I'm going to calculate what is 95% of the marked price. So, this means I'm going to only consider the 5% discount first. So, I'm going to get 1330. Then what do they mean by a further discount of 4%? So this discount is 4% of the 1,330. It's not the 4% of the original 1,400. So that's what a further discount of 4% means. So after another 4% discount, which means I need to calculate 96% of 1,330. So this will give us 1276.80. So you will be able to see that this amount is actually not the same as if I were to just give a flat 9% discount. So why does this happen? Of course, in this question, they ask you to show your working clearly. So we can see that this amount is not the same as 1274. Okay, so the sale price would not still be 1274. Okay, how can we explain this if the question didn't want calculations and they wanted us to do an explanation? So what we can see is that, can you see that this 4% is calculated based on the discounted amount? It's not 4% of the original 1,400. So the amount of discount would actually be lesser, which is why you see that the discounted price here is actually more than the 1274. So the key idea that must come out in your answer is the idea of the base being different for both the contexts. So when we calculate the 4% discount, this is calculated based on the discounted amount. Okay, so in this case, we already calculated the discounted amount. So I'm going to put it here, 1330. Therefore, it will not be equal to 4% of $1,400. Okay, that's why the discounted amount in this context will not be the same as giving a direct 9% discount. Next, let us look at example 6. For example 6, a store is going to offer a 10% discount on all items. members have an additional 15% discount. So again, when the question uses words like a further discount, an additional discount, remember not to add the discounts together because the base is going to be different. An additional 15% would mean on the final price, there would be an extra 15% discount. So what happens if a non-member buys a bag for $180? So there will be a 10% discount, which means because this person bought the bag at this price, that means this is how much it was eventually sold for. That means this is the selling price. And we know that it must have been sold after a 10% discount. So this $180 actually represents 90%. So when the question wants us to find the marked price is always the original, so that represents 100%. So in order to find the marked price, I will find 1% by taking 180 divided by 90, then multiply by 100 to find 100%. So the original price of the bag, or the intended selling price of the bag, was originally $200. Now, if a member buys the same handbag, how much does she pay? We know that the discounted price will now be $180, right? After the 10% discount. So if there is an additional 15% discount, so we will need to calculate the new amount. Now, when we are calculating the additional 15% discount, remember this will now be our 100%. So the 15% will be based on the $180. So the new selling price, or rather for the member, would be 85% of $180. So $180 was the discounted price. I'm going to give an additional 15% off from the $180. So that's why we need to take the 180 as the 100%. And then I'm finding 85% because I'm going to subtract a 15% from the original. So this is going to give us $153. Okay, lastly, we are going to look at additional practice question 2. Okay, in this question, the shopkeeper increased the marked price of a handbag by 40%. So there was an original marked price. Then the shopkeeper decided to increase it by 40%. Okay, so then there was a new amount. Why would he have wanted to have increased? He probably wanted to make it seem like he's going to give a bigger discount, because later on he's going to offer a 50% discount. Okay, so he increased it by 45%. Then after increasing it to 45%, then he decided to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to give a 50% discount. And then he eventually sold it for $134.40. So because there are two parts to this question, we need to be very careful which number represents how many percent. Now, can you see that this is the selling price after discount? When we are calculating discount, the 100% will always be the price before discount. See, this was the price before discount. So the 50% discount is calculated on this price, which means the 134.40 must have represented the remaining 50%. So to find the new marked price refers to this because it's the price before discount. Why new? Because there was an original marked price. So that's why they are trying to differentiate it by saying new marked price. So in order to find the new marked price, I know 134.40 represents 50%. So I divide it by 50 to find 1%. Then I multiply it by 100 to find 100%. Of course, you can also just multiply by 2, right? 134.40 is 50%. So 100% would, of course, just be times 2. The reason why I keep going back to this finding 1% is so that you can see that this is a strategy that can be applied to any question on percentage. Always find 1% and then you can use that to find any other percentage. So the new marked price is $268.80. Then the question wants us to find the original marked price. So remember, there was the original marked price, and then he increased it by 40% to say that now it became 268.80. Now when he increased it by 40%, it's 40% of this amount, which means this is the 100%. If he increased it by 40%, it means it became 140%. So the same 268.80 for this part of the question, instead of representing 100%, it's actually representing 140%. So to find the original marked price, I'm going to find 1% by taking this divided by 140, and then I'm going to multiply by 100 because I'm finding the 100%. So the original marked price is $192. Okay, I'm going to do a quick check of my answers. So originally the price of the item was $192. After a 40% discount, 40% increase, so I'm going to calculate 140% of 192. So when I press this in my calculator, I should get 268.80. Okay. Then there was a 50% discount, which means I need to minus off 50% from here, which means it will become 50% of 268.80. So the resulting amount is in fact 134.40. So it's very easy for us to quickly check whether the answer we have gotten makes sense in the given context. So these are the questions on applications of percentage on problems involving profit, loss and discount.